Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this is part one of a drift pickup commission build. The client sent me 3 trucks to choose from, and I ended up picking the hardest one to work with. And he sent me some wheels, some rubber Rail Rider style wheels that are kind of balloony. They're not really flat, and then some plastic wheels as well that are pretty cool, but they're not the rubber tires. So out of these 3 pickups, I did pick the hardest one, and that's why this is part 1 of 2. So as usual, if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of all future videos. Alright, so yeah, he had sent me a couple of wheels. I ended up going with the Rail Rider red ones, but I ended up having some trouble with them because the balloonish aspect of the tires just really was setting me off the entire time. But anyways, as usual with the project, I go through and I'll pick and choose what I want, what I think's, at least what I think's going to work. Drilling this out was beyond easy because the plastic interior, which slides through when the wing actually holds it in, as well as the grill for the base, allows it to only have one post. That one post is plastic, so it doesn't go into the body itself. Right now, I'm just drilling out the snorkel for the hood because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. In hindsight, I probably should have just left it on because I end up using it, but it's just riveted in like usual. And I was at one point thinking possibly having something sticking out of the hood, but since this is a drift truck and I am completely out of my element, I decided that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use it anyways, but it's off. It makes painting it a little bit easier because there's really no place to grab it, and I can use the hole to stick something through for painting. So again, I'm way out of my element here. I'm taking my grinding disc, not my cutoff wheel, but my grinding disc, and I'm starting to do some cutting on the front, on the fenders, front, rear. I cut the parachute off the back, and really all I can do is go by reference. You can see I'm pointing out some really horrible casting lines on this truck. I've done more body work on this truck than I've done on some cars, real full size. This is insane, and part of the reason why it took me so long once I got into it. So, but anyways, back to the fenders. I wanted to keep, I know a lot of trucks, they'll cut off the fenders, but this has such a cool body line. I just thought it was going to be a shame to actually cut that off. So I'm going to put it in a stripper. I'm almost out of stripper, so you can see me tugging at it, the stripper that is. And this paint was kind of a pain in the neck to get off. I'd roughly sanded it first, so it made it a little bit easier, but it was a little bit of a project. Again, this is one of those, every once in a while when you're building, you run across a project that just fights you the whole way, and that's this one. So once I've got stripped, I'm going to use my wire wheel just to get off the residue and kind of see what I have to deal with, because this is really only the beginning phases. So now I can really get a good look at the body lines that I need to, or the casting lines that need to come off. Both front fenders were horrible. The rear fenders, where I end up cutting off, had some tail lights. I ground those off. You can see here it had some plastic wheelie bars molded into the base, and obviously doesn't fit because it's more of a drag truck. So now I'm turning it into a drift truck. I don't need them. And once you cut them, you can pretty much file it down. And I'm filing off any of the little casting lines on the actual plastic base. And then with the wheels being slightly smaller in diameter, I decided to sand down a little bit of the base to make sure that nothing rubbed once the wheels, because it would actually stick down past where the wheels would go. So I got my 1/16 brass tubing. You can cut this with a knife. I just happen to have my Dremel handy, and I'm kind of a Dremel addict, apparently. I must have used, again, I can't film everything. This project, it was so much grinding and cutting and fitting and grinding and cutting and fitting. just getting the front and rear wheels radiused out so that I wasn't taking off. I didn't want to take off too much of the fender, but I wanted it to have a certain look. And it was a very tedious process. So for wheels, what I'm going to do is the other set he gave me, I'm going to actually use the axles. So I just cut it in half, took them out. I'm going to use them on the chrome ones he sent with the rubber wheels, and put those into the axle tubes. It works out perfect. I really like using the axle tubes when I can, and if you can use the original axles by cutting them in half, it works out perfectly. I never throw any of my wheels away for that reason. I always have original axles, even if they're halves, everywhere. So once I've gotten to this point, the radius on the front and the rear are not even close. So I spent probably 3 hours over a course of 2 days just grinding, radiusing, fitting, grinding, radiusing, fitting. It was a very tedious process. In the end, I think it's going to look pretty damn good. But again, I'm a little out of my element here, so I'm sure there's an easier way of doing this, but obviously I didn't do that. The axle tubes just get glued in. I'll end up cutting a little slot on 2 sides with my Dremel tool just to get a place to put the glue in. Now putting that quick set on, I've been using this stuff like crazy. It's awesome, and it smells like bug spray, so it's kind of cool. You can see here I'm going to do a little bit more grinding or sanding onto the base just so that it gets a nice flush fit. I don't want anything hanging down once the wheels are on and sitting. I don't want nothing to obstruct it rolling well, which is what I was really after. And sandpaper works perfectly. Finally, after hemming and hawing, I get these monoblock wheels. They're nice. They're square. Well, square, but they're flat. They get the raised white lettered. So I'm actually going to take those and put them onto these rims that he gave me and take those balloonish tires off. I couldn't get a good visual, and they were just bothering me. I just hate those actual tires. They're not even, I don't know, they just don't seem real to me. So this has a really nice look, and I'm real happy with this. So I've got it pretty close at this point. I end up grinding a lot more off the rear. Here it is with the actual interior in it, and because again, you have to fit things 5, 6, 8, 12 times. Once I'm at a certain point, I'm ready to call it quits and just say screw it. I'm going to paint it and see what happens. So the first thing I got to do is prime it, and I want to get a good idea where I'm at. So what I do is, while that's drying, I grab some Quicksilver. I've already spray painted the interior and the base black. The Quicksilver actually clear coated it as well, so it's got a little bit of a shine to it. Now when I put the Quicksilver on, it's going to give, if you put it on, you're supposed to really put it on light, real light, mini coats, but real light, and it gives you a nice chrome finish. I'm after an aluminum look, so I'm going to put it on pretty much in one pass, and well, not one pass, but at one time, and put it on heavy. And what that'll do is, over the gloss black paint, it gives it a pretty decent deep dark aluminum look. So that's kind of what I was looking for, and it worked out really well. I love this paint. I think it's awesome. And again, if I was going for like a candy paint, then I would put it on real faint and light, and just do a bunch of different coats until it gets to the right sheen that I was looking for. So here you can see it's painted white. Now I can see any flaws in casting things that I've missed from grinding or whatever. And it worked out really well. And this is pretty much, and I know it's short, I'm also sick, so on top of everything else, nothing but problems. I'm going to put a little glazing putty on the rear where I did the parachute, because it's got a couple dimples in there I didn't like. And I'm going to pretty much leave it here, and I'm hoping to get the next video out tomorrow so you guys don't have to wait, and I apologize for it being 2 parts. I'll catch you on the next one.